Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Furthermore, Maharaj Parikshit was always consciously surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bird, which was due to bite him because of the fury of a Brahmana boy. Purport: a self-surrendered devotee of the Lord is called Narayana Parayana. Such a person is never afraid of any place or person, not even of death. For him, nothing is as important as the Supreme Lord, and thus he gives equal importance to heaven and hell. He knows well that both heaven and hell are creations of the Lord, and similarly, life and death are different conditions of existence created by the Lord. But in all conditions and in all circumstances, remembrance of Narayan is essential. The Narayana Parayana practices this constantly. Maharaj Parikshit was such a pure devotee. He was wrongfully cursed by an inexperienced son of a Brahmana, who was under the influence of Kali, and Maharaj Parikshit took this to be sent by Narayan. He knew that Narayan, Lord Krishna, had saved him when he was burned in the womb of his mother, and if he were to be killed by a snake bite, it would also take place by the will of the Lord. The devotee never goes against the will of the Lord. Anything sent by God is a blessing for the devotee. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was neither afraid of nor bewildered by such things. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnunaya Krishna Prishna. So an interesting verse and an interesting set of events. It's not often you hear about curses and people being cursed to be killed by the bite of a snake bird. Most of us don't even know what a snake bird is. It's a rather mysterious, mythical, well, it would be described by others as mythical concept. But in Krishna's vast creation, there are all sorts of creatures. Winged creatures, sliding creatures, slithering ones. And they all have interesting properties. So there's a thing called a snake bird, which is like a snake and has bird-like features as well. And what's interesting is that this creature was supposed to bite Maharaj Parikshit. And that was the curse. Therefore, this entire chapter is called Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. And it's very interesting to observe Maharaj Parikshit's reaction to this. In this verse, it's described that he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bird. Just imagine if any of us receive a notice of impending death. For most people, that's a tremendously troublesome occasion. Sometimes a person, after having some medical tests done, is informed. You have this and this disease, could be cancer or this or whatever it is, and your time is limited. Well, that's normally an occasion for great distress for that person and for everyone around them. This is no different. The news of impending distress, departure, has just been delivered directly to him. Well, he has heard about the curse from others. The people have informed him that this is what this Brahmana boy has done, because you offended him by putting a garland around his father's neck. So the son has taken great offense and he has now cursed you to die. So Maharaj Parikshit, it's a very interesting behavior that he's demonstrating. And this concept of fearlessness is a very important one. We often hear of devotees who are fearless. And we are also advised that we should become fearless in the service of the Lord. And there's different types of fearlessness. Just being fearless in itself can have mixed results. Demons are also quite fearless. So just the existence of fearlessness in someone's character is not anything particularly glorious necessarily. Demons are fearless. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. completely fearless. Ravana, fearless as to the consequences of what was going to happen to him when he stole Mother Sita. Even when his close advisors are warning him, even when Kumbhakarna, who normally is very submissive to Ravana, informs him, Ravana, you're a fool. You've gone one step too far this time, and you simply won't get away with this. This is Kumbhakarna, his stalwart supporter. Ravana, completely fearless, ignored it all. He said, who do they think they are? Who is Vishnu? I am the most powerful person. I have Lanka, I'm very powerful, I'm very wealthy. No one can defeat me. I have hordes of Rakshasas, and then I have my son, who's very powerful. And that was his concept of fearlessness. Kamsa, same thing, fearlessness. Although Kamsa displayed a bit of cowardice, actually, because when he invited Krishna, he tried to make all sorts of arrangements so that Krishna would be dispatched even before he came close to him. So he had this great big elephant, Kuvalyapira, arranged outside, ready to kill Krishna and Balaram when they first turned up. And these are only small boys, and Kamsa is like a big, ferocious adult. So there's a certain display of cowardice there. But generally, these persons were fearless. They didn't care. They had teams of Rakshasas at their disposal, and they would just send them to do their dirty work for them. So fearlessness is found in today's world as well. In the past, Kshatriyas would be fearless, right? The qualities of a Kshatriya. Shauryam teji tejo dhritir dakshat yuddhe cha pipalayanaha, as the Gita says. That a Kshatriya is fearless in battle, never runs from battle. He is chivalrous, he's strong, he's generous. All of these are qualities of a Kshatriya. Kshatram, these are the qualities by which a Kshatriya should be known. So that's a Kshatriya. But then you also have another sort of breed or class of people, the Gundas, who do not have any of the heroism or the chivalry or the prowess or a strength of character that a Kshatriya is supposed to have. But they may have some physical strength. And they may have the ability to manipulate, to torture, to harm others. So there are plenty of Gundas around, plenty of Gundas in Kali Yuga. They each rule their roost. They have a certain area which they're the king of. And they rule those patches. And then every so often they fight a rival gang and this and that. And they're also fearless. Who's going to harm me? Who do they think they am? Who do they think they are? I'm the boss. They want to challenge me? Come on. That's also fearlessness. But it's not quite the same, because there's a completely different class of fearlessness that comes to a devotee who is Narayana Para, who is surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Every single person in this material world who has derived their fearlessness from a sense of their own power is actually in a certain type of illusion. Generally, you'll find persons who have some strength or some power in this world, who are materially fearless. Typically, a weak person is not fearless. They're an anxiety. If you look at, even in different species, if you look at weak species, like squirrels or rabbits or even pigeons or, creatures like that, they're weak. They're under constant threat, constant fear of being attacked by someone. Most birds are totally agitated all the time because they don't know at which moment something may get them. A bigger bird or a cat or something like that. They're always flittering around. Squirrels are in constant anxiety. You look at them, they're sort of sitting there with curled tail, and then a moment later, a second, they do this incredibly fast move. It's their way of surviving. Threats that they simply cannot handle. So that's material species and fearlessness. So when someone has some power, they look fearless. A lion is fearless. A cat is mostly fearless. Dogs are kind of happy barking away, and they're not too afraid most of the time. So when someone has some power, some opulence, they develop a sense of strength, a sense of confidence. And yes, that confidence, that strength may help them through navigating their journey in this world. They may be able to exert their will on others. They may be able to get away with certain things. but it actually leads to a certain type of illusion also. Because there is nothing worse for such a person who is used to being fearless and powerful to have their power challenged. When that does happen, they tend to be completely shocked. Whereas a person who's routinely used to being trampled on isn't overly shocked. It's just another day in my life, as they say. But when a big demon or when a powerful gunda is attacked and, how can you say, made to submit to a superior force, it's dreadful for them. For a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. Happy are they, lucky are they, fortunate are those Kshatriyas for whom death comes in battle. As the Gita says. Sukhinam, and then they go and they get the destination. When they're fighting and they're struck down honorably, that is success for them. But if you are just defeated and tossed aside like an insignificant creature, or if, as like with Ashwatthama or others, you are demeaned, that's very troublesome. Now the thing is, it's quite possible that a gunda or a rakshasa type of person, a demon, goes through their entire life without any very serious challenge. It's possible, isn't it, that one can go through a whole lifetime without really meeting a challenge that they couldn't defeat. Depending on one's karma, one may have that privilege. But there are a few challenges which they can never defeat. Birth, old age, disease and death hit them, whether they want it or not. They can deal with maybe the adibautic miseries, adhyatmic, adidevik. Some of those they can deal with. They can deal with miseries inflicted by others. But they can't deal with these things. Okay, birth has happened, it's out of control. Death is coming. You see the signs of it. Old age. The strongest person, when they're struck down with old age, I mean, it's pretty pathetic, isn't it? We have the stories of Muhammad Ali, big boxer, who was reduced to being unable to even move. It's very difficult for a person like that. A person who's active in their life is struck down with a disease, maybe paralyzed, cannot move, dependent on others. That's something a powerful person never likes, to be dependent on others. Well, the thing is, it's not under their control. Every single person has no legitimate basis for actually being self-confident. Now this would probably be a blasphemous thing to say in the world of the so-called gurus, the lifestyle gurus and the inspirational speakers of this world. Imagine you go on stage. None of you have a right to be self-confident. How far is that going to get you? Okay, next. You're doing a TED talk and you say, self-confidence is a subject matter for fools. What kind of reaction will you have? It's the basis for everyone's interest these days. How to be confident, how to be motivated, how to be dynamic, how to be powerful, how to achieve your goals in life. There's a massive industry around this, all based on complete fallacy. Because however much you convince yourself that you are powerful, and however much you convince yourself that you are fearless, the reality is that you're not either of these things. At every stage, you are liable to be knocked for six by the modes of nature. There are adibautic, adidevik, adhyatmic miseries which you can't even imagine, just waiting to pounce. Then there are superior people who you may deny the existence of, but that does not change the reality that they exist, who may come to get you at some point. All these are the reality aspects which a person who tries to build up their own confidence and ego willfully ignores. So it is unfashionable to not be seen to be powerful and in control and in charge. And sometimes people create a whole propaganda and an aura of their power, even when the actual reality is not there. Sometimes the strongest, the people who make the biggest noise, portray their own glories in the biggest way, are the most insecure people. And the reality is everyone is actually insecure, because there is no security in this world. You can control certain areas, but there are powers completely outside of your control. So the first category of persons is the category of those who are demoniac in nature, who think that they are the controllers, who like to exploit material nature. And their power and their fearlessness is completely foolish, actually. The other category of persons who we are hearing about now is persons like Maharaj Parikshit. Persons who have derived their sense of fearlessness from an actual understanding of who is the most powerful person in this world. When one is surrounded by an army or protected by the secret service or has an elite force at their disposal, you have a certain right to feel somewhat secure. You have some sense. If you're with a powerful person, then if you're best friends with the playground bully, then yeah, you can have some fun. Because you know that you can get away with a lot of things and there's someone there to protect you. So in this world, alliances are made. Weaker person allies themselves with a more powerful person, and etc., etc. A real person, a person who is really fearless, has aligned themselves to the most powerful person. There's no other way around it. You don't have any power yourself. So the only way you will be powerful or fearless is if you've aligned yourself with the person who is completely fearless and has absolutely no one above them. There's only one person who meets that criteria, and that's Krishna. None of the demigods, none of the devatas, none of the lesser demigods, none of the powerful agents, any of them meet that criteria. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why in the Gita, Neha Bikramanashosti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Fear. A little advancement on this path protects one from the most dangerous type of fear. Why? Because it brings one under the sheltered wings of the Supreme Lord. Little bird hides under the shelter of the wings of its parents. If you ever see a video, nature video or something, where you see these little cubs, these little lion cubs maybe, they're born, they're completely helpless. Their eyes are closed. Now their potential is to be a fearsome predator that has no other equal. But when they're born, they're completely weak, useless, little blobs. And the mother carries them in the mouth, feeds them, does everything for them. And their source of fearlessness is their mother. Because they know they just have to squeal a bit, meow, and the mother turns up, looks after them. So just as creatures like that obtain their fearlessness by taking shelter of a great person, similarly devotees also know that their fearlessness increases to the proportion they take shelter of the most powerful person, Krishna. To the extent that the cubs stay under the shelter of the mother, they are protected. If they start wandering off too far, there's a chance another predator will come and get them. And that's the animal kingdom. As humans, we don't see much of this, especially in civilized society, but the animal kingdom is pretty horrific. You stray a little bit outside of the flock, some predator comes to get you. So in Krishna consciousness, actually the same thing is true. To the extent that we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, to the extent we are under his lotus feet and his shelter, to that extent we are also protected. And if we stray off the path of shelter from Krishna, well then we are under the influence and under the opportunities and problems that are offered by material nature. So we have always these two options. Do we take shelter of material nature or do we take shelter of Krishna? Now Krishna is a very interesting person also, because he likes to sometimes create a situation of anxiety for his devotees, just to see if they will take shelter of him. And so he does this in different ways, because he knows it brings out a special mood within the devotee. Now, for most of us who are practitioners, the idea of being placed into a fearful condition is really unpalatable. If we're going out on Sankirtan, if we're doing a Harinam, are we looking for a team of yobs to come and attack us, thinking that this will help me come closer to Krishna? But does it happen? Yes, it does happen. It's happened. It's happened on the Central London Harinam. It's happened. Thugs have attacked devotees in the past, distributing books. So many stories are there of persons who've become physically troublesome. But Krishna protects everyone, ultimately. He protects everyone. And so the devotees are in this, in a sort of practitioner stage, especially near the beginning. We do not desire any type of miseries. We do not desire any type of difficulties. We want to be fully protected. We want Krishna to take care of us. Sometimes Krishna creates these situations to see just how much we depend upon him. And sometimes there are miraculous occurrences which have also happened. A devotee has suddenly put up his arms in the air and just started chanting Nrsimhadev really loudly. And then out of nowhere, Krishna sends someone. He sends some really powerful person. I think Godruma can tell you a few stories of situations like that, where Krishna has either dispatched some big, strong fighter to just deal with the miscreants, or police have just turned up, or something's happened. Krishna sometimes reciprocates like that, in accordance with the devotee surrender. And the Bhagavatam is full of stories like this, where Krishna sends his protection the moment the devotee surrenders to him and accepts his protection. We know the story of Gajendra. The moment he surrendered to Krishna, despite being attacked by this crocodile for a period of 1,000 years, the moment he did that, the Lord appeared, produced his Sudarshan Chakra, end of crocodile. Very quickly the Lord can deal with these problems. And the Bhagavatam is completely full of stories like this. And the story that's referred to here in this purport, where Prabhupada actually gets the comments for this purport, is found in the 6th canto, with Chitraketu, who is traveling in his aeroplane, and he comes upon Lord Shiva and Parvati. He comes upon Lord Shiva and Parvati, and there's an assembly of sages there. And Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. And Parvati is sitting on Lord Shiva's lap. And this was an item of great amusement for King Chitraketu, who was thinking, hang on, there's an assembly of great sages. Why is Parvati sitting on Lord Shiva's lap as if this is some kind of intimate occasion? It's not the done thing, he was thinking. In a Bhagavatam class, you don't have your wife sitting on your lap, on the Vyasasan. It's not the normal etiquette. So he was thinking with amusement, what an interesting situation where Lord Shiva is so powerful and so transcendental that even this occasion can happen. And the great sages will sit there not remotely bothered, just listening to Lord Shiva's discourse. So then Parvati sees Chitraketu laughing, giggling. And she gets offended. She says, who does he think he is? He's laughing at us. He's laughing at me sitting on Lord Shiva's lap. I need to teach this person a lesson. And so she curses him. She curses him to go down to the, to fall into the hellish regions, to the material world, which for someone in an elevated situation like that is the hellish regions, really. So she curses him to fall. And this is when this verse is spoken. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibhyati swarga pavarga narakeshwa pitulyartha darshinaha. Lord Shiva explains this to Parvati because King Chitraketu's reaction is something completely amazing. He says, with folded palms, my dear mother, I accept this curse on my head. And she's struck back. She's thinking, he's not even slightly bothered by what I've just said. King Chitraketu is completely fearless. He's completely at ease with the situation. And he's thinking, thank you. Because Swarga, Pavarga, Narakeshu, Apitulyartha Darshinaha, Swarga, Naraka, whether a devotee is situated in the heavenly planets or whether a devotee is situated in the hellish planets, both are equivalent as long as they have the connection, the darshan, the association of the Supreme Lord. That, for a devotee, is the overriding factor. They know that if the Lord protects them, wherever they are, they're secure, they're safe. There's no better place to be. Even after Bali Maharaj is kicked or is sent, not kicked, he's sent down to the lower planets, Sutala, which is a kind of a type of degradation. Vamandev comes and agrees to be his doorkeeper and to give him all protection. So he's sent to the hellish planets, but the Supreme Lord is protecting him. And that is a part of another whole Leela where later on Ravana turns up. And he's conquering the entire universe, but he's unable to do anything here. Because Vamandev gives him a kick and sends him flying. And Ravana realizes, okay, this is one area I'm not going to terrorize right now. And this despite the fact that Ravana has not only conquered the hellish planets, but he's also conquered the entirety of the heavenly planets. And he's completely in charge of the whole scene. He's ruling the entire scene, the entire universe. So Bali Maharaj is in typically a difficult situation, but by the mercy of the Lord, it is better than the heavenly planets. The Lord's protection has given him something that is not possible anywhere else. So the Bhagavatam is full of stories of devotees who derive their sense of fearlessness based upon an actual, real reality that they have taken shelter of the Lord. Not the fake reality that people have made up, that are based on the strength of my arms, that is my security. So can you think of any other occasions, maybe in Canto 1, when persons demonstrate fearlessness or security? So, Vidura? Uttara? Yes, she took shelter of Krishna. She was fearful at the time, but she took shelter of Krishna. Are there others who've displayed a kind of a transcendence to a fearful situation? Bhishmadev. Yes, in one sense, he was equipoised and he knew he could leave this world at any point. Yes, he was steady, despite having arrows right throughout his body, lying on a bed of arrows. But then Krishna and Arjuna did a few things to help him. Arjuna fired this arrow into the ground and a fountain came out. If you read the story in the Mahabharata. And then Krishna gave him also the benediction that in order to answer Yudhishthira's question, you will be free from any pangs of pain or hunger or anything like that for this duration. So Krishna and Arjuna both helped Bhishmadev in his rather precarious situation. Yes, so those are two. Any others? Kunti Devi. Yes, well, Kunti Devi, after Krishna protects Parikshit Maharaj, Kunti Devi offers these prayers. And she requests that let these miseries come again and again. But at the time when the miseries were coming, that wasn't necessarily her prayer. Her prayer was, Krishna, please save me. So this is one of these prayers at a very mature stage of Krishna conscious practice, where she realizes now that actually the real shelter, the only real shelter to be had in this world is Krishna's presence. So whenever Krishna is present, let there be peace. So at that time, she wasn't in any direct distress. So can you think of any occasions when there was direct distress, but someone remained completely equipoised? Parikshit Maharaj is there, yes, that is the story here, that because he was protected by the Lord at the beginning, he had this mentality that, okay, I was supposed to be finished. Right in this womb, this Brahmastra was fired to burn me and finish me. And yes, it's described that the body was burnt to some extent, but the Lord was there and he stopped it. And so he says now, if Krishna saved me then, what do I have to fear? Krishna can take me away right now if he wants. He chose to save me then. My existence is based on his mercy only. If he wants to take me away, let him take me away. Do you have another one? Sorry? Narad Muni is a good one because his mother passed away when he was only 5 or something like that. And he was forced to take shelter of the instructions he had heard from the Bhaktivedantas. So that was something, a special arrangement by the Lord for Narad Muni, so that literally any natural tendency to take shelter of a superior person would be removed. Even if there is a great transcendentalist, he would naturally take shelter of the mother, regardless of how transcendental he was. But Krishna had to remove that, to make it clear that actually, Narad Muni, your real shelter is me. And so Narad Muni, yes, it's described he was fearless. He started traveling, he traveled through different places, practicing the techniques spoken by the Bhaktivedantas. Is there anyone else? Prahlad Maharaj, yes, but in Canto 1 is one occasion which is a little more subtle. But think of the occasions when someone is being harassed. Canto 1, Draupadi isn't directly harassed. Who does Parikshit Maharaj come across? Dharma the bull, and Kali, and Mother Cow. And these two personalities are very interesting, because Dharma is there, he's being hacked. He's being attacked by Kali. His legs have been destroyed, there's only one leg wobbling, remaining. The last leg of Dharma, the Dharma of truthfulness, which, as you know, in Kali Yuga is the last thing, and it's also the thing that disappears. It is said that Mother Earth cannot stand a liar. She tolerates so many things. She tolerates so many things. And this comes about in the occasion with Bali Maharaj, when his guru is telling him to not listen, not carry out his promise to Vamandev. His own guru Shukracharya is telling him, you don't have to carry out this promise, because there are this, and so many other occasions when it is legitimate to override your word. But Bali Maharaj was, no, Mother Earth cannot tolerate a liar. I've given my word, it must be carried out. So that was the last remaining leg of the bull. And this rather Gunda-like individual, Kali, was attacking the cow and the bull. The cow was in a greatly distressed condition. The bull was in a greatly distressed condition. And Maharaj Parikshit came to them and he asked them, who has done this to you? What is the cause of your distress? Tell me and I will punish them immediately. And the bull said, it is very difficult to ascertain the cause of any situation. What is the cause of one's pain or suffering is a concept that is difficult to describe. There is such fearlessness there, which is in complete contrast to a typically fearful person who is immediately looking to place the blame on some immediate cause for any situation that they're going through. A typical insecure, weak person who has their security based upon their own sense of arrogance very quickly tries to send the blame to somewhere else when something happens. They try to look for someone that they can dump a situation on. They try to divert the situation so someone else gets the flak instead of them. A person like Dharma, even when a genuine cause exists, like Kali, who's there attacking him, prefers to look at the distant cause. The distant cause, sarva karana karanam. And then, kind of like for us in the conditioned state, a more practical and useful distant cause, which is our own karma, the consequences of our previous actions. In the conditioned state, it is not always useful to attribute anything that happens to us to Krishna. Now, why is that? That might sound like a bit of a revolutionary statement. The reason is that in the conditioned state, before we have full understanding of the way Krishna works and the full understanding of Krishna's intents and actions, we will start to blame Krishna for anything negative that comes to us. So in all the lives of all the devotees, you will see that they consider that the miseries, pains, sufferings that they're going through, they never blame Krishna for them. They blame their own karma for them. They know that Krishna is in the background in charge of everything. But they don't think that they are all operating on a Leela platform where anything that negatively happens to them is due to a divine Leela of the Lord. They prefer to think that whatever miseries I'm experiencing, those things are due to my own problems. One who patiently awaits the results of his sinful reactions to manifest. You know, as it says, Tattenu kampa susamikshamana bunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvag vapurbir vidadham namaste jive yato mukti pade sadayabak. One who patiently tolerates the results of his past misdeeds, patiently waits for Krishna to bestow his supreme mercy, achieves as his rightful claim transcendence to the supreme abode. The spiritual world becomes his rightful claim. That's how a devotee thinks and how a devotee operates. So Dharma, the bull, is not wanting to attribute any problems that are happening to a particular immediate cause. He knows that there is a remote cause, Krishna, Sarva Karana Karanam, and then so many other causes beyond that. Now Dharma and the cow are definitely in the Leela of the Lord. This whole thing is happening by the Leela of the Lord. The Lord's protection is there, and it will be enacted through Maharaj Parikshit in this Leela. But both of those personalities are used by the Lord to demonstrate lessons, behavior, character. It is only when someone is actually put into a really troublesome situation that their character is demonstrated. Chitraketu was cursed in the presence of all of the sages there. And what he demonstrated was amazing. What he demonstrated in terms of his response was amazing. So typically, a person who is completely confident, completely secure in the shelter of the Lord, and not resorting to their own strength, is a person who is truly under the shelter of the Lord. So there's a very interesting sort of concept and paradigm that comes from this pastime. Now today is also the disappearance day, appearance day, occasion of many, there's about 5 or 6 different occasions today. It is Vasant Panchami, of course, the first day of spring. Or as some people say, it's a festival to celebrate the impending arrival of spring. But largely, colloquially, it is termed the first day of spring, where the shoots start to come. And typically on Vasant Panchami, you'll see this outfit is offered to the deities. This sort of springy outfit. Now, spring in other climes, this is that sort of time, February. If you're in India in February, at this time the weather starts to change. It becomes nicer, everything becomes green, the winter is over. In this country, it's slightly different timings. Normally it's snowing around this time. I remember in the past, for Lord Nityananda's appearance day, sometimes it snowed so much. One year, we built this ice Balaram outside. You have the snowman. So some devotees built an ice Balaram outside for Nityananda's appearance day. And one year it snowed on Gaur Purnima as well. So these strange things happen. But yes, it's spring. At least we can have spring in our hearts, that rejuvenation, upliftment, excitement, devotional sustenance is going to come in the next months. The springs, the shoots, they're going to appear. And so it is that time when people look forward to a good occasion, and they look forward and they celebrate and do all sorts of things. But our real cause of celebration is always the great personalities who are like a sort of spring in our lives. And Vishnu Priya Devi, it's her appearance today. Also Sri Raghunandan, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the disappearance of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. All of these are very tremendously important personalities. You can literally speak for an hour on each one and have plenty more to say. But there are maybe a couple I can just touch on today. Vishnu Priya Devi and Sri Raghunandan. There are some interesting stories there. Vishnu Priya Devi is, of course, Gaur Purnima is arriving, is the second wife of Lord Chaitanya. After Lakshmi Priya left the world, she was bitten by a snake near the Ganga, and she left the world, and Mother Sachi was in tremendous distress, tremendous shock, and didn't know what to do. So Nimai agreed to marry again, and they found very, very qualified person, Vishnupriya Devi, who's described as Lakshmi. She's a manifestation of Lakshmi, the supreme goddess of fortune. Different things are said in different places. Yeah, there are different things in different places. It is described that Vishnu Priya is also is also the goddess. She's the eternal consort of the Lord, as the conversations in Chaitanya Bhagavat reveal. There are conversations later. He's gone. So anyway, so she is the supreme eternal consort of the Lord. And specifically, she had to deal with Lord Chaitanya's taking of sannyas. She is a person who accepted the pain of separation for an extended period of time. She was very, very young when the marriage was arranged to Lord Chaitanya. And it is soon after that that he went to Gaya. And obviously we know what happened when he went to Gaya. This is when his devotional reality started to manifest externally with all great power. And then really he was not interested in anything household-like or anything material or anything at all. Even his tendencies towards logic and argumentation, they all disappeared. When he received the mercy and association of Ishvarapuri, he was transformed. And then another shock later, as he was becoming more and more devotional, exhibiting his glories, they started hearing about sannyas. They started hearing that he was going to take sannyas. This was a great shock to his wife, to his mother also. And you can just imagine that when these rumors were finally confirmed, what a dreadful condition they were in. Very, very shocking. Mother Sachi has gone through a lot, actually. Everyone keeps taking sannyas. Her first child, Vishwarup, went off, took sannyas. Then Lord Chaitanya, they were just trying to settle him down, and now he's become more transcendental, and now he's taking sannyas. And his young wife, who's there also, who's hardly had any considerable association with the Lord. But the Lord did deal with her very kindly just before he was taking sannyas. There's a whole occasion, a whole scene which takes place with them. But she was such an exalted personality that she bore that separation and that pain for a considerable period of time. The separation a devotee experiences when they've had the association of the Lord is in a different category to mundane separation in this world. There is a kind of a great sense of difficulty, distress. Externally it seems very distressful. But internally there's a close connection which can never really be understood. It's only manifest with the gopis and with the eternal consorts of the Lord, who somehow Krishna gives a lot of separation to. Maybe that's his mercy in one sense. If you're going to become very close to the Lord, just be ready for a lot of separation. And this is demonstrated very much by Sri Vishnupriya. That she accepted that this was going to happen. There was no choice in this matter. But Lord Chaitanya explained to her how you are my eternal consort, and many things happened, and he consoled his mother Sachi also, that you are my eternal mother. And Vishnupriya adopted this vow that she would take only a grain of rice. She would chant one mantra, one Mahamantra, Hare Krishna mantra, and she would put aside one grain of rice. And when she'd finished her rounds, whatever was collected, that rice, she would cook it. In one place it's described that she would feed Mother Sachi first with whatever rice there was, whatever grains. And then whatever was left she would take herself. That's a very serious, severe austerity. And that just demonstrates how she actually adopted the same mood as Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. And in one letter Prabhupada says that Srimati Vishnupriya actually became greater than a sannyasi due to adopting the same vows and same demeanor and mentality as Lord Chaitanya. So internally, with her consciousness, with her behavior, she adopted the mood. You know, it says very clearly in the Gita, sannyasa krichama santo nishtashanti prayanaha, that a real sannyasi is not one who lights no fire, performs no action, performs no sacrifice, or maybe wears robes and carries a danda. The real sannyasi is one who is entirely, completely engaged in the service of the Lord and has no other interest in life. Completely 100% dedicated to the Lord. The externals are not important. So she adopted a mood of complete and utter dependence on the Lord and no other interest. Zero. Absolutely none. And so Prabhupada glorifies her. And that is really something exceptional. And when we see examples of this, now obviously the internal potencies of the Lord cannot be imitated by us, but we can take great inspiration from them. Just as we take inspiration when we hear that Lakshman, for all those years in the forest, didn't eat or drink anything, didn't sleep, stayed awake at the service of Lord Ram for all those years while they were in exile. We can't possibly do that. But we can see that this is what the internal agents of the Lord are prepared to do, to demonstrate their service to the Lord. So for us, it's a great encouragement that there are so many examples in the devotional realm, like Chitraketu, like others who are Narayana Para, who take complete shelter of the Lord and have no other interests. So we hear about these personalities and they can really motivate us. Gaur Purnima is coming. So if we want to be dear to the Lord, we should start to adopt some of this mentality. Learn about the principles of Yukta Vairagya from Rupa Goswami. What does it actually mean? Use our items, but have no dependence on them at all. So this is Srimati Vishnupriya Devi, and we seek her blessings that we can actually develop a connection with the Lord. There are many, many more things that could be said. She had a deity of Lord Chaitanya which was made, and that was the start of deity worship of Lord Chaitanya. So many things are there. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur installed deities of Vishnupriya and Lord Chaitanya in temples. Very, very important personality. Then Raghunandan, I'd just like to mention also, he's one of the, there are many branches in the Chaitanya tree. They're described in the different Leelas, Adi Leela and others. So I think that he's in the 39th branch, along with Narahari, Sarkar, and his father Mukunda and others. And very, very significant person, because his father was a physician, Mukunda Das. And one occasion he had to go away somewhere to deal with something, visit someone and give them some medicine, or like a home visit, as doctors do. And so he asked his son to make the offering to the deity. And it's a very nice pastime, because he told him how to do the offering, and he'd been trained and brought up as a nice boy. And so when mother had made all the items, and she said, okay, go and offer this to the deity. And he put the plate before the deity, and he chanted all the mantras, and nothing happened. So the thing was still there. He said to Krishna, he chanted the mantras again. He thought, okay, let's try again. Maybe I didn't do it properly. He chanted the mantras again, and still everything remained on the plate. And then he started to get upset. He thought, okay, look, if you don't eat this, I'm going to be in big trouble, because this is the first time my parents have asked me to make this offering on their behalf. And if you don't eat this, I'm going to be in big trouble. And he almost started to cry. He said to the deity, you must eat this. And he didn't understand that the Lord eats just through his eyes. He was just a small boy. The Lord accepted this heartfelt appeal of this boy, and just for his pleasure, he ate everything. He left nothing on the plate. And then his mother said, is the offering done? The boy said yes, and he said, the Lord ate everything. And she looked at the plate and it was empty. And she thought, oh no, what has this boy done? I'll wait till his father comes home. Then he can have a word with him. And then his father comes, and they have a whole conversation, and he says, no, really, this is what happened. I said to the Lord, why don't you eat? And I was afraid that I'd be in trouble. And then he started eating everything. And this is the plate. And the father said, okay, because he knew his son wouldn't lie. It wasn't like an ordinary child who just tells a quick lie. This was the son of a great devotee who'd been trained in proper behavior. So he said, okay, let me see what's happening. And said, okay, make an offering again. And this time the father hid behind a curtain and watched. And so they offered him, and he saw the deity ate the laddu, half a laddu, only half. Then he put the other half back. And when he saw this, he was in ecstasy. The father was in great ecstasy. He said, I don't know what's going on here, but my son is clearly a very, very exalted, advanced person. Now, there are different reasons why there was only half a laddu eaten. One explanation is that the Lord was already full from having the previous meal. So he couldn't eat anymore. And the other occasion was that he saw that his father Mukunda was watching. And so he couldn't eat. He'd eaten the first thing, and then he saw his father was watching, and so he stopped, the boy's father. And he said, no, I can't do this. Secret affair between myself and this small boy. And so that was the glories of this son. Now, once later, in Puri, Lord Chaitanya, who had association with all of these great personalities, said to the father, he said, who is actually the father? Is it you or is it your son? And Mukunda said, the one who gives us Krishna Prema is definitely the father. I accept Raghunandan definitely as my father. There's a very interesting dynamic there. That the pure saintly devotees of the Lord never consider that their status devotionally is derived from their positional seniority. They never do that. Here is the son, here is the father thinking he is the son of his son. That very rarely happens. Normally the ego of the father is quite sufficient and quite large that, no way. He's my boy, he'll listen to me. But that's why we have so many of these encouragements. They've already said in the scriptures, Gurur nasasyat, swajano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, janani nasasyat, devam natatsyan, napadishcha sasyan, namochayatya samapetam nityam. One should not become a father, a mother, a guru, a worshipable demigod, a forefather. In fact, one should not adopt any role taking responsibility for another person unless one can deliver them from the clutches of birth and death. These kind of verses are completely esoteric for us, because we see that so many people have become teachers, so many people become fathers, mothers, and they don't deliver their children. But when we look at the family of Raghunandan, we actually see this in real life. We see that here is a person, a family completely qualified, who trained the children in complete devotion, that the children are completely exalted devotees and dear to the Lord. So this is Raghunandan, Sri Raghunandan Prabhu. And just two of the personalities we could mention today. But if we just remember these two pastimes, the exceptional renunciation and disinterest displayed by Sri Vishnupriya, and the complete natural devotional ecstasy of just a young boy to please the Lord. And hopefully this will get us in a mood as Gurpurnima appears next month. And so the more we study the Bhagavatam, the more we will see how we become fearless. Bhagavatam is full of stories throughout the cantos of fearlessness. And better we become fearless by reading the Bhagavatam rather than by hearing some classes on how to be confident, how to develop your charisma and your power, etc. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, Rasaraj Prabhu?
Repeat the question. Oh, thank you for the class, Prabhu. My question is how to know what level of surrender you're practicing at the current moment in your devotional life.
How to know what level of surrender you're on at the moment. It's not so useful actually to know the grade. You know, you might get a school report and they give you A, B, C, D, C+. Might not be actually so useful. Better to just think you're on F standard. Just in the fail category. If you think like that, and actually that's the example demonstrated by actually the exalted devotees. Vishnupriya is thinking, Lord Chaitanya is leaving because I haven't served him properly. I have failed to fulfill my duties. I haven't demonstrated the devotion that he has now decided to leave me. did not satisfy him. When Krishna leaves in the rasa dance, Radharani is thinking, what have I done? I failed. Better to think that the degree to which we've taken shelter of, the degree to which we've completely aligned ourselves to the Lord is deficient. That's probably the best way. Because let's say we do know what the level is. Let's say it's exceptionally exalted like one of these persons. Well, these persons will never accept it even if you told them. You're the topmost devotee. They'll say, no. Not the case. It's not of much use. So better we always remain in that mood that, we are well short of the mark. And actually the more we learn, the more we study, the more we practice devotional service, the more we chant, the more we actually appreciate just how far off the mark we are. And every so often Krishna will he'll exhibit something from us. We'll behave in a certain way. We might do something which is not appropriate. We'll do something, and it should be a reminder to us that actually some distance still to go. So the thing is, any devotees, and certainly all the exalted devotees here, are on a very high level of devotion. But they wouldn't think that. They wouldn't think that. They wouldn't be particularly interested in the level. Because they prefer to just think I'm on the lowest level.
Thank you.
Yes, Ian Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for your class. Amazing classes as always. Earlier on in your class you spoke about the gundas and these personalities who, they might think that they have this kind of sense of fearlessness up until it's challenged, and then it becomes a very, very troublesome circumstance for them. So my question is, for some of us who probably come to spiritual life, we have come with that kind of, fake fearlessness and feeling like, oh, we're something. And then we come to the process, and as time goes by, our insignificance starts to be spotlighted, and then we start to see this, and it can also become a very, very troublesome process, like an identity crisis issue. What would your advice be for someone going through this at the moment? How can they trudge on without the same kind of detrimental circumstance that somebody on the other side experiences?
Well, the only people who have identity crisis are those people who don't know their identity. In the material world, people have an identity crisis. What am I? Am I this? Am I a lawyer? Am I a physician? What is my profession? What is my mentality? Am I this, that? What is my gender? These days that's becoming, what is my gender? What is my mentality? What is my situation, position? Am I a family member? Am I the breadwinner? What am I? All of these are based on false identities. Real identity is I'm a servant of Krishna, so no one can ever have an identity crisis with that. It's just impossible. So if you're situated in the correct identity, then I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Keami, Sanatana Goswami says, who am I? What am I? My identity is an eternal servant of the Lord. Gopi bhartu padakamaleyor das das anudasa. You can't be in any crisis whatsoever. But there are some people who materially may go through different things, They might have low self-esteem, they might have, and so many other terms the psychologists will come up. Those people should get treatment according to whatever systems are available. But they can take inspiration from a treatment which is outside of the material realm. All of those material treatments at best will restore one to the state of being at the level of illusion of a normal, healthy person. Right? Through all that psychology, through all those counseling, all of that, you may get to a stage where you think, okay, I am now happy, I am now satisfied, I'm a worthwhile human being, people value me, and I'm okay, I can now function in this world, I can be a good father, a good mother, I can do something useful. Okay, fine. To those who know nothing more than that, that's quite an achievement. But for a devotee, that's not the goal at all. That's just another level of illusion. So for a devotee, they're never going to be satisfied until they're resituated in their actual place as a devotee of Krishna under the shelter of his lotus feet. So if someone is feeling down, they're materially down, if they can meet a devotee somehow and a devotee tells them what is the actual opposite of feeling down, and it's not what they think they want, it's not what they think they need to stop feeling down, it's something completely different. Because let's say you elevate someone materially. It's a good thing. I'm not saying we don't do that. We do that. We encourage people, we bring them up. Sometimes when you're on book distribution, you might meet people. Once when I was somewhere, one lady came up and said, I want to commit suicide. What do you say to her? So I spoke to her for some time. And she was a Christian by nature, so we discussed something from that. And I don't know ultimately what happened, but she left in a more positive state of mind. We can always assist people who come to us. We can help bring them out of a completely dysfunctional situation and bring them up to a level and then encourage them with spiritual knowledge to the extent that they're capable. But we should always remember that in mind, that uplifting someone to a material situation, material higher status, is not our goal. We might do it along the way, but it's not our goal, because it achieves nothing ultimately. This life, let's say someone is completely fortunate and someone becomes materially successful. What's the consequence? The consequence is you've used up all their karma, their good karma. Next life they don't have that anymore in their bank balance. Then also during this life they've accrued more sinful activity, because it's inevitable. When someone enjoys more in this material world, they accrue sinful activities. That's now in your stock of bank balance. Next life, you have an even more troublesome situation than you had in this life. So have you helped the person? Questionable, isn't it? So therefore, we have to view the help we give others from a wider perspective. And definitely there's never any encouragement to not help someone who needs it. Food for All, Food for Life program was started by Prabhupada in this way. Those who are not able to hear the philosophy should be helped at least in some way. Give them prasadam, let that purify them. Let their material needs be taken care of. We try and help them, but the devotee is never satisfied with that. Devotee always wants to do something more, to try to take the person higher. So that's what I would say. But there's no shortage of insecurity in this age of Kali. It's just normal. Any other questions? Yes, Mataji here.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very enlightening class. Very wonderful. I have a question about Vishnupriya. When she was in pain, in the mood of separation, eventually, internally, did that mood become pleasure? Was it?
It's not a situation they ever like, though.
Yeah.
The mood of separation is something vipralamba sambhog. Vipralamba is never really desired by a devotee. But Krishna enforces it on a devotee because he knows that the devotee can get a higher level of connection and rasa through that. But if you ever asked her, are you happy with the situation, I don't think she would ever say yes. So the experience is something internal. Just like Radharani is always thinking of Krishna, and Krishna declares to her also, all this time when I've been away in Dwarka and other places, I've been thinking of you. So Lord Chaitanya also says the same to Vishnupriya. He says, I will be constantly thinking of you. He says that to her just before he leaves. And so that connection remains, and it's in one sense it's a stronger connection than a physical connection.
Yeah.
But when you're in Vipralamba, you don't want it. It's not desirable.
It's the irony. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Krishna has to put us in that situation for our own further relishment. Relishing, whatever the word is.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. All the exalted personalities ki.